Week 3 was a tough week for a lot of running backs that are probably in a lot of starting rosters out there on your league. A lot of veteran running backs who were inefficient or got injured, leaving a lot of opportunities for these first or second year running backs. Now, first or second year running backs are players that we definitely want to be targeting in fantasy football as a whole, but especially in Guillotine leagues, because they help get us through these early weeks where we just need a couple of points and we need active starting players, but they also provide the upside to help us win championships later on. Just a couple examples to go through about last year, because this happens every single year. Tyrone Tracy, to start, maybe wasn't a league winner per se, but certainly provided a lot more value than it cost to draft him. You can see his involvement early in the season, not particularly great, but it definitely scaled up and ramped up as he took over for Devin Singletary, who maybe had a minor injury, but ultimately was just inefficient. Same could be said about Chase Brown. Zach Moss, a little bit inefficient before the injury, and then as soon as he was injured, we can see that Chase Brown took on a huge role with the Bengals, even just starting in week 4. And this is the time of the season, again, just hopping back to Tyrone Tracy, week 5, week 4 for Chase Brown because of injury. This is what happens in fantasy football, and these players are oftentimes your league winners. Another example, Devon Achane. A little bit of a different scenario behind Raheem Mostert, who is, again, largely inefficient as a workhorse running back, better for the short goal line workload. But Achane, a little bit different also because he was immediately onto the scene weeks 1 and 2. But again, we just take a young rookie running back behind a veteran and inefficient running back, and that produces league-winning running backs. One more example, just to drill the point home, Bucky Irving, sitting behind Rachaad White, who is the epitome of inefficient running backs. Rachaad White started the season slow. We see week 3, 4, and then even into the 6 range. He starts to take on a greater workload and really start to kick things off and ended up being a league-winning running back for you. And so we see in many of these examples, these players either start the season with a consistent workload or in these weeks 3 to 6 is when they take it on. And so we have a lot of different players that have the opportunity to do so this year. And I think the first one we should talk about is Cam Skattebo, excuse me. So Cam Skattebo is behind Tyrone Tracy prior to this week, but Tyrone Tracy has gone down to injury. We do not know how long he will be out for, but Cam Skattebo was already taking over the role prior to the Tracy injury. And so I think this just cements the fact that he will be getting running back 1 potential in this offense. And so his upside as a runner is that he's a 4th-round pick. I'd say that's mediocre draft capital, but he was super talented in college. If you watch any of his tape at Arizona State, he was an extremely tough runner, which surprisingly combined with underrated pass-catching ability. And I think that's something people sleep on with him. Even this past week, we can see targeted 8 times, 6 receptions, 61 yards. We're going to see him involved as a pass catcher a ton. If you're in a PPR league, Cam Skattebo has a lot of value. The Giants, not a great offense, but he's sitting just behind Devin Singletary or not sitting behind, but competing with Devin Singletary and Eric Gray. I think he should have no issue taking over this offense and getting plenty of usage. We can see here, if we ignore Tracy, again, assuming his injury, he was taking on the lion's share of the carries, and I believe he will do so for the coming weeks. Overall, if Cam hits your waivers, I'd be bidding fairly aggressively on him, probably in the 8 to 15% range. He's unlikely to finish the season maybe as an RB1 because of this Giants offense and splitting a little bit with Singletary. But because of the opportunity he has, his upside as a pass catcher, he has plenty of opportunity to be a strong RB2 and a contributor on your team for a long time. Another great pass catcher who is having plenty of potential behind a inefficient back is Trayvon Henderson. Ramondre Stevenson this week, who was their presumed starter coming into the season and had fumble issues in the past, fumbled twice in their loss to the Steelers, and I think that might just put Trayvon Henderson into a starting role. As silly as it sounds, like fumble issues happen in the NFL, and when we see it consistently happen, teams get fed up on it. The turnover battle is huge in the real NFL world, and so 2 fumbles is pretty unacceptable. Trayvon Henderson is therefore likely to get the lion's share of the carries next week, and he might be splitting them with Gibson instead of Ramondre. Ramondre might even drop to that RB3 role. Trayvon Henderson, a lot of potential too. He was the 38th overall pick, so an early second round pick. And the Patriots offense maybe doesn't sound particularly great, but has some upside built into the fact that they might continue to improve and gel, and Drake May might just get better and better as the season goes on. And again, Trayvon Henderson was a great pass catching back, I believe, at Ohio State. Yeah, it is on the screen. He was a great pass catching back at Ohio State and can definitely bring that ability to the NFL. We haven't seen it as much as Cam Skattebo, but we can see that he's still getting fairly targeted. 6, 2, and 3 targets and receptions in the first 3 weeks. I believe that we'll see something similar, if not a little bit more, in the coming weeks for him. If he hits your waivers or you're available to trade for him, I would be looking to bid in the 7 to 13% range, maybe a little bit less than Skattebo, but generally, again, a guy I want to get on my roster. We can see here that the rushing attempts are going to be split between Henderson and Gibson, and I believe Ramondre, again, might be the third running back at this point. But even though the running back carries are split, we're going to see that Trayvon Henderson will probably get targeted a little bit more than Antonio Gibson. So moving on to our next guy, we have Trey Benson. This is a second-year running back. He was a third-round pick last year out of Florida State. He was the backup to James Conner. James Conner just went down to an ACL injury, which is extremely unfortunate, and he will be out the whole remainder of the year. Trey Benson maybe has a little bit of upside baked into this Cardinals offense. I don't know that I believe that too strongly. I believe the Cardinals offense will likely remain around league average, but his most upside resides in the fact that Trey Benson should be the clear RB1 of the Cardinals. His competition is going to be Emari Demercado, who has shown flashes in the past, but I believe that Trey Benson is drafted in the third round and relatively highly to take on this role when either they moved on from James Conner retired, or we saw a James Conner injury like this. And so, although I believe Trey Benson's upside is limited, I believe his floor is going to be very high in this offense, especially if you need a plug-and-play running back, and Trey Benson, again, is available for trade or available on waivers. I might bid in the range of 6 to 12% on him. That's going to be a little bit lower than Henderson and Skattebo. But again, he provides such a high floor and a very interesting player profile. With his high volume, he's someone that I'm definitely interested in as well. And then moving on to our final name, the kind of cream of the crop of the rookie running backs, aside from Ashton Genty, but especially with this new opportunity group, is going to be Amarion Hampton. He had a great week this week in Najee Harris's absence. He got 19 carries, 70 yards, and a touchdown, 6 of 7 receptions, 59 yards, totaling 24.9 fantasy points. I believe that's an RB4 finish on the week. Similar to Connor, Najee Harris confirmed torn ACL, going to be out for the season. And so Amarion Hampton steps into a huge role with a Chargers offense that has looked very, very strong. Amarion Hampton was a first-round pick out of North Carolina, I believe in the 20s range to the Chargers this year. He had a very, very strong collegiate profile at UNC, and he has all the signs to be a workhorse running back in this offense and in the NFL as a whole. We can see on this team, he also just does not have that much competition. So he, even this week, already got the lion's share of the carries at 19. I believe his primary backups are actually going to be Hassan Haskins and Kamani Vidal off the practice squad, even though they're not showing here. But I'm not particularly worried about either of those guys. I think Amarion Hampton is the clear workhorse running back in this offense for pretty much the entire rest of the season, which is an extremely valuable thing. As mentioned at the top of this video, not only does that mean that he will be getting a high carry load as we see this week, providing a high floor, but if he pans out to his first round pick potential, he has the upside to be on your team until these final weeks, right? He is true running back one potential that maybe a player like Trey Benson doesn't have. And therefore, if Amarion Hampton is on your waivers, I'd be bidding very aggressively on him. I'd be bidding in the 14 to 23% range, depending on your team and your running back needs. Now, if you have any questions about bids, you're more than welcome to reach out to me in the comment section below, on Reddit, on X or Twitter. And also you can see my general FAAB guide will help provide just the values that I believe you should be bidding on these players. Just this week, I added the function where you can input your league ID and your sleeper username. And if you have a official Sleeper Guillotine League, it'll automatically input all the data and adjust these values to whether or not you have a very strong or very weak team. And it'll give you these values that you might want to bid on these running backs. And then also I added this week is going to be this can start until week data. And so what that's going to do is if a player is ranked as the 10th running back, it'll tell you that you can start them until approximately week 15. Now, of course, that will vary depending on your team and league as well, but it shows a rough estimate as to how long you might have a guy on your team, and therefore how aggressively or not you might want to bid on someone. And so the rankings shown here are not updated. They will be updated Tuesday morning when all the fantasy pros get updated. But I believe Amarion Hampton should be in this like running back 12 range, which means he will be on your team until about week 14, maybe if he pans out in the week 15 to 16 range. The other three guys probably all going to be in this running back 20 to say 26 range, somewhere around there, which means they'll be on your team till weeks 9 through 12, which again is going to be a long time. That's the next 6 to 8 weeks, meaning that you want to bid fairly aggressively on all of them because not only are they going to be around for a while, but they also have some built-in upside. So if any of these 4 players are available, I suggest you go make a good attempt to trade for them or bid for them. Good luck, and again, if you have any questions, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Thank you.